what time it is. Some of you going to church. That's right.
Yeah, it was
Church. Some of you going into the rotation. Carlos prematurely jumped the gun with the theme music. It's okay.
my
None of
bad.
us.
My finger
None.
was on the button, and you know what time it is, and it just like caused me
Yeah.
to press the
It's
button.
all good. It's all good. You know, we are professionals and non-professionals at the same time. So for those of you who don't know, I'm your executive director, Christopher Kano, coming to you live from the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, right here above the Beltway, where all of our nation's capital happenings are going down. And then, of course, our deputy director, Carlos Ermita, is broadcasting live in studio at Chillum in Ybor City. We'll be joined shortly by our Director of Public Policy, Gary Stein, who will be joining us from Broadcast from Home. And then, of course, we have a very special guest today. We've had over the past couple of weeks some new members stepping up from Generation Z to run for Congress, to run for State House. And today's State House candidate from District 68, Lorissa Wright. Lorissa, welcome to the rotation.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So, you are stepping into, a district that has kind of been redrawn a little bit after redistricting. You're facing someone who is, previously been a state rep. And so tell us a little bit about your platform. What chose you to, at 22 years old, to want to step up and represent your community, run for office?
Well, for me, I've really always been interested in law and politics. That comes from being an American, coming from a working class immigrant family. I've been able to see both ups and downs of the system here. And so that really pushed me into volunteering and getting interested in activism and politics. Then back in 2020, I had the opportunity. I was ready to work on a candidate congressional campaign, and I did it. And it was during the time where the George Floyd situation was going on, as well as COVID really just started up, and the country was in chaos. And I was like, I need to do more. And more for me was going to Tallahassee and providing a voice to the working class. I'm big on providing a voice to the working class and people who are often underheard and underserved, just making sure they have a voice and that voice is being heard. Some of my personal passions and big points of my campaign are education. I come from a family that has educators in it. I work in the education system myself. So making sure our teachers, they get paid, we're way behind that here in Florida, as well as taking care of the teacher shortage. Of course, the environment. My opponent is actually sponsored behind the anti-solar bill last session, and women's reproductive rights, of course. If we don't get people like me or candidates that are pro-choice elected to the legislature, we're going to have a problem at next session. So those are definitely some of my into my platform and what makes I to.
Awesome. Well, I think stepping up is in when you see injustice, when you see things that don't make sense, you look around and it's like, well, if not you, then who? Right. And if not now, then when? So I totally get where you're coming from. And I think that's awesome. And, just all props to you to stepping up and wanting to represent your community, knowing that you have an uphill fight at that too. And there's something noble about that. All in all, we always want to encourage the younger generation to step up. And people always say, wait your turn, or it's not your time. And the truth is that the time is always now, and your turn is when you feel you're ready to step up and make it happen. And, you just keep going, you persevere through it. And that's how we see actual change happen in this country and in this world. So, like I said, all props to you for stepping up. There are a lot of people out there who talk a good game, but none of them actually step up. You're actually on the ballot. You're actually doing what you need to do to make it happen. So,
man, I think it's impressive that you just care. When I was 22, I didn't give a shit. And here you are. You're not only giving a shit, but like you're stepping up. You're trying to get involved. You're trying to get your hands dirty, and all kudos to you. I think it's very important because most of the people that are making decisions for us are fucking older than Gary, and that's pretty old.
Exactly. And a large part of the population, I'm sorry, Gary, but a large part of the population, we have young people in the population. We have middle-aged people in the population. We have young adults. We need people up in Tallahassee that can provide a voice to other people other than just, the status quo and what has been, in power for a long time.
What was it that, like, I know you were talking a little bit beforehand, but why do you care so much? Like, what was it that really, like, was there like a point in time that you can just be like, okay, this is what's really fucking pissing me off? That I need to get involved. No,
I would say no. I've seriously, like, since I've been younger, I've just always really been into, like, wanting to advocate, wanting to speak. I used to get in trouble a lot, actually. Like, if there was something wrong going on, I had to say something. I've always been like that. So it just kind of took me to where I'm at. But I can't pinpoint a specific reason or a specific point, like, okay, I'm tapping into politics now. It's always really been in tune, honestly, since I was younger.
I see that, Lorissa, because, like, as a matter of fact, not to be corny or anything, but, like, from the little bit of research that I've done, you have to understand that I'm the least political in this group. That I'm more Joe Stoner guy than anything else. But the little bit of research that I've done on you, like, if I read your bio on your Twitter profile, it literally says you're an advocate for the underrepresented. So it sounds like you just, like, hate bullies.
Pretty much people that take advantage of people when they know that they're vulnerable and they need help. Like, and sometimes the people, they can't speak up for themselves, or if they do speak up, no one wants to listen because, I mean, everything's about a power game. If you don't have a certain person or a certain position in the society, unfortunately, they won't listen. They won't take certain graphics and certain people from a certain working class. They won't take them serious. That's the truth. That's the truth. People need somebody that is looking out for those people.
It reminds me of the administration that's currently in charge right now. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah, I saw the pictures on your site, and at the, I think it was the Blue Went, whatever it was, over in Tampa. By the way, you rocked that white suit. That was really cool.
Oh, thank you. You're talking about Leadership Blue. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But it begs to ask the question: have you been getting support from the DEC in regards to pushing this forward? Because that, I find, is one of the issues we have with the Democratic Party. Doesn't always support the candidates as much as they should, and that's politics, of course. But I would hate to see somebody with your spark and your fire to not get the attention that you need to get moving forward, because it takes money and it takes support.
You are right. It's been a ride. It's been a difficult ride. Most recently, I would say within the last 2 weeks, I have gotten some financial support from the Hillsborough DEC. I'm very, very appreciative of that. In the way of, like, connections, putting me in touch with the membership. But I would say overall, when it comes to Gen Z candidates, and we have some other Gen Z candidates down in South Florida, Gabriel Gonzalez, Elijah, we do struggle when it comes to financial support from the party times. So it's frustrating. It gets frustrating. But we take what we can get, and we have to run with it. Can't let it stop us.
And you do have support of the LGBTQ caucus, right? I missed your event this last Wednesday.
Yes, I was in the Hillsborough LGBTQ caucus. Yeah, and the state as well, the state Florida LGBTQ caucus. So yeah, they support me. And
my guess is there is no LGBT caucus in Polk County.
No, there is, Gary. There is. See, that just goes to show you ain't on the ground in Polk County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Lorissa, in regards to caucuses, endorsements, Gary,
out there.
Yeah, Gary's just going through the normal rigmarole of just the party politics of everything. But one of the key criticisms that that we've seen as an outside organization is, when you really want to flip seats, if you really want to win, then you got to garner and get behind folks early. And we're encouraging, we would like to see the party structure, especially now that we're, halfway through September, coalescing around younger candidates like yourself and really doing what they can to flip seats. Because I've seen the DEC throw tens of thousands of dollars in special elections for candidates who I didn't think had a hope in hell of winning. But you inspire people. And I think that's the difference is inspirational candidates make a big difference. And, charisma doesn't always translate into dollars, but it should. And then that's why we're happy to have you, stepping up and making it happen. Now, in regards to the issues that are important to our members at Suncoast Normal and the patients here in Florida, the Florida legislature, and Carlos just hit on it, between the Florida GOP running the legislature and the DeSantis administration running the Department of Health, for the past 4 years, patients have been failed on so many levels. Most recently, these allotment caps on how much medicine you can get every day. I mean, it boils down to like 2 grams of flour a day, a very limited amount overall over the course of 70 days for certain, forms of medication, methods of ingestion. We haven't seen an expansion of qualifying symptoms since the amendment passed. We've not seen any type of protection to end discrimination against medical marijuana patients, whether it's in medical treatment or being kicked off the organ transplant list or getting kicked out of your nursing home for using medical marijuana. And we still see people being fired from their jobs for being medical marijuana patients, especially in the public sector. We're seeing teachers and high school administrators let go of jobs, all because they're using a state-sanctioned medicine, which the voters have said is a constitutional right to utilize. So what is your view in all of this? What would you like to see happen, once you get elected to, improve the medical marijuana system in Florida? And is there any insights that you have on the current system that you think need to change?
Well, to answer your first question, what I'd like to see happen is for it to be decriminalized and we could operate like states like Colorado, which I'm a big fan of that state. When I go there, decriminalizing it, the way it is, I'm Jamaican American, so I have a little bit of a different outlook on it. But it's a herb. It's Jah's plant. It's a plant that grows from the ground, and we are arresting people and patronizing people, and honestly, overdoing it is how I look at it. For what? That's how I look at it. So I have to get there. I definitely want to see it be decriminalized. I would like to see it get back onto the ballot. I did some research for it. I got on here, of course, and seeing that I believe it was the Supreme Court, well, Florida Supreme Court, that they shot it down over some technicality from going on to the ballot diction. So I have to follow up with that and see if anything's going to change with that. But I would like to see it be decriminalized.
Well, we appreciate those sentiments. This is the beginning of also Hispanic Heritage Month, all leading between now all the way through Indigenous Peoples Day in mid-October. And, what we've seen is that it has been the African American community and the Latino community bearing the brunt of marijuana prohibition's consequences, whether it's been disparities in arrest, whether it's been over policing of our communities and our neighborhoods. And for the past 80 years, it hasn't changed. The reefer madness epidemic grew out of the Jim Crow era, but the modern prohibition era came out of the just say no and the tough on crime from the Nixon to the Reagan administrations. And then you had, the Clinton administration doubling down, with tough on crime policies, even though that president smoked weed, and then we've seen George Bush, Obama, all admit to utilizing cannabis. And yet we're still not in a place where this country has fully accepted it. I mean, 38 states have medical use for it, but even still, we're seeing women in Alabama being jailed for up to 30 years because they're utilizing cannabis as an anti-nausea medication while they're pregnant.
Ridiculous.
And I mean, Yeah, I mean these are the policies. These are the people who you're going to be working with in the halls of government. People who actually support these policies and think that the status quo is acceptable. So how does that make you feel?
Frustrated and disgusted also comes to mind because people, they do it too. They do it too. That's the best way I could say it. They do it too. And then we look at some of the mandatory minimums, and we look at how people get locked up, and just like you were saying, the demographics of people that get locked up. It's pretty disgusting. And another thing that really gets me is, okay, now we have medical marijuana, which, there's money in that. Then we look at the people making the money. It's all a big circle. The people who making the money off of the medical marijuana, and then we look at people getting locked up. It just doesn't make it makes sense. It's not right. So you can sit there in your seat for legislative position that you hold, and sometimes profit off of this. And then we have people getting locked up for utilizing it, and it's literally a plant that grows out of the ground. You know what I'm saying? It's frustrating, Dad.
It's not just a plant, but it's a plant that hasn't hurt anybody. As a matter of fact, only helped people. And
yeah, exactly.
I like what you said. They're doing it too. Like, it's not like they're simply doing it and getting away with it and hurting other people. I walked back in like the middle of the conversation, so I just went on my rant. But but yeah,
that's why I always.
It's got to be frustrating for you. I know it was frustrating for me, growing up late 90s, early 2000s, and being a marijuana smoker, and myself having been through the system, getting caught with marijuana and feeling like a criminal for doing something that I now have like a card for, and I have a medical right for. So I appreciate you saying those things. It's pretty good to see that somebody's running for office that appreciates that. Thank you.
And the important thing about getting into the legislature. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna just responding to what he said. Yeah, I always like to refer to blood like that. I always say like a plant that goes out the ground, and I know it's because the way that some people think about it, especially in our legislature, you would think that they're talking about like the way that they talk about it is like it's the worst thing ever. Like we're talking about like heroin or crack, and I know those are extremities, but really it's not like that. And it's very frustrating.
Yeah,
exactly. Because it should not be a Schedule 1. Come on now, like.
Well, the thing is about the regulations that have come out from the Controlled Substance Act federally, and of course the laws we have here in the state of Florida, is that continued regulation pushes people towards what we call the legacy market, or the folks who are not selling it legally. Because number one, if you don't get enough medicine legally, what are you going to do? That's basically what is going on. And you find that, they always say it's the chaos theory. Nature will find a way. Well, the same thing with people. If you continue to regulate the substance, they will find a way to get their product however they need to get it. And it's actually dangerous out there right now because there is, well, we talked a little about the gateway drug situation. The average MMTC is not going to be selling crack or fentanyl. This rainbow fentanyl just kind of like has me creeped out entirely here right now. They actually look like little Skittles or pieces of sidewalk chalk, and they can kill you. And they're out there right now, being distributed out there. And again,
there's no news articles that's like going to end up as Halloween candy.
Yeah, they're saying that it's going to be in Jolly Ranchers. I don't know if that's coming from the substance abuse people who want to get more folks into their programs, or the law enforcement who want to scare the hell out of us. Well, that part they've already done, because I have seen the danger that fentanyl has done. I've seen the dead bodies. It happens all over the damn place. And again, when you regulate too much, this is what happens. And in the fact that they actually put those rules in place recently, that actually puts a cap on people who need it as medicine. It's like saying you can only have half of a dose of your heart medicine. What are you going to do? You will find a way to keep yourself alive. And that is basically where we stand right now. And it just shows that they don't care about the people. They care about the special interests who are pushing these things. And I'm hoping that when you get into the legislature, and I'm expecting you do, we will have some bills for you to help move this program along, like the ones that Chris was talking about.
And Lorissa, your stance is right. And I think that's the most important thing that you should take away from it, especially as you run up into naysayers, because Rutgers University just published a study showing that municipalities which license marijuana establishments saw increases in their home sale prices compared to towns that banned them. And so, supporting, the decriminalization of cannabis, supporting the adult use market is important. But also, the Journal of Health Economics recently put out a data in a published study coming out of North Dakota State University that compared obesity rates pre-legalization and post-legalization. And they actually saw that in Washington State, with recreational adult use marijuana, there was a decrease in obesity rates, and that there are people are less likely to be obese or suffer from type 2 diabetes in states that have adult use. So, the evidence is there.
There's so many benefits. The benefits outweigh any whatever risk that they want to talk about. And that's what it is. We look at liquor, all that's not really, you could compare that to marijuana, weed, whatever you want to call it. To me, weed much more beneficial properties to it. But you see how we treat the alcohol versus the weed. So we have to start thinking even deeper. Why is it that we do that? I'm not going to go into all of that, but it really does have a lot of beneficial factors. Relaxation is a route to consciousness. It opens your mind. But some people can't understand that route to thing. People can't understand that. But I just went on a rant, but I'm really passionate about that.
Well, that's okay.
We love it.
Florida back in the 70s had the Coptic Church, or was it the 80s? And they, of course, mostly, besides having a giant complex in South Florida, also moved to Jamaica and had a large presence there. But I understand that even the Jamaican government is kind of cracking down on certain things right now. So that seems to be the way the government tends to work. But if Florida really wants to have a medical program, you can't be restricting the amount of medicine that a person needs. There's no other medicine out there that is being restricted in this way, with the exception of Oxycontin because of the situation there, but with the pill mills. But there's no other medication that's being regulated like this. Absolutely none. Therefore, they're not taking it as medicine. They're actually treating it like it was a quote unquote recreational drug, although what we call adult use, which it ends up to be if you don't have a medical program. We're supposed to have a medical program.
Carlos, let's highlight Lorissa. And Lorissa, why don't you tell the listeners out there, how they can support your campaign, where they can go to learn more and volunteer.
Also, what is the exact boundaries of your district? I'm not sure if you covered this or not yet, but what are the boundaries of your district?
Just said Say that one more time for me.
Yeah, I'm not certain if you covered this before I got on, but what are the boundaries of your district?
What my district is comprised of, East Hillsborough County. That includes Plant City, Valrico, portions of Brandon, portions of Thessaloniki, portions of Bloomingdale. It's really changed. We used to have Temple Terrace, if you're familiar with that. They cut that out and gave portions of Brandon. Now Brandon actually has made up of about 4 or 5 different reps are made up in, but I go right up to the Polk County line, so I don't cross over, and then I go right to Pinell as well. So that's kind of how my district is looking. And after redistricting, a lot has changed. So for anybody watching that would like to see the new maps and really dig into that, you go on to the House of Representatives, Florida State House Representatives, their webpage, check it out, and you can really dig into the map, dissect it, and see how everything has changed. As far as my campaign and supporting my campaign, if you want to check me out, I'm on social media at Right for Florida on everything, Instagram, Facebook, all socials, Right for Florida. My webpage is rightforflorida.com. It is down for maintenance at the moment. The server is being updated right now, so it will be back up shortly. Of course, supporting, if you'd like to volunteer, door knock, help with the inner workings of the campaign, we're always looking for volunteers. Of course, if you're able to contribute, I'm a grassroots campaign. We have a flu link contribution. We'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, just if you're on social media, a share, a like, just get the word out there. Get the word out there. We have a Gen Z candidate running in East Hillsborough County, and it really hasn't been done before. So, yeah, that's how you can support my campaign, and that's a little bit about my district.
Yeah, and I've met Mr. McClure. I met him at a Bell Shoals event, and when I mentioned what organization I work for, and I asked if he would be interested in talking to us, he couldn't get away from me fast enough. So, Mr. McClure, you're on our list, okay?
Larry, you done fucked up. We coming for you. We're gonna back Lorissa. We're gonna make sure we handle this. That's
Ooh,
what happens.
we're coming for you.
Yeah, he's focused. He's too focused on his solar energy bill, so helping Florida in that way. So
it's like every time you smell weed, Larry, it's us.
Well, Lorissa, we really appreciate your fervor and your passion. We look forward to supporting you and making it happen in this election, and keep doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration to your peers and to people who you probably never even met. And I think that's the most important thing, is that people out there, supporting you. And so let's just get this over the finish line. There's a few more weeks left to Election Day. Folks, go out there, support Lorissa Wright in District 68. If you're in East Hillsborough County, you can volunteer your time, your treasure, or your talent. And if you need to learn more about which candidates are the ones that are supporting the patients and the people of Florida, as always, jump into rotation each and every Sunday. And we'll continue to be showcasing folks every week till the election.
And I want to give a shout out to the good folks over at the Sawgrass Progressives and the East Hillsborough Democrats who helped make the connections for today. They're working hard on a lot of good candidates, so more power to them. More power to you.
Looks like your wife just got home too, Kano.
No, she was just letting the dogs out. That's the back door, actually.
Let the dogs out.
All right, we'll catch y'all in rotation next week.